One of the most common things you hear about schools is like, we should prepare them for life and we should teach them life skills and we should teach them financial literacy and we should teach them how to think. And it's not just about the core academics.
I was getting a lot of students who were like, just tell me what I need to memorize and I'll tell it back to you. And that's not learning.
Young people are going to demand better ROI on their investment into learning or education. The traditional curriculum can actually be covered in a much shorter period, in 2 hours.
A blog post from 2022 on the UK government website says following changes brought on by the global coronavirus pandemic, officials have realised the possibilities of EdTech are far broader than we imagined and found that it's opened doors to better ways of learning. Just 3 years ago, that largely referenced the use of tools for remote working, video calling software, voice recording tools for teachers to offer audio feedback, and other software designed to upskill tutors. However, there are schools and educators using much more advanced EdTech tools today who are thinking about how to teach pupils in a radical new way.
For us, it's not about AI, it's about a belief of what an educated person in the modern world looks like. And fundamentally, our belief is built on the fact that we need to build not education systems, learning systems that build resilient people. Like, that's actually what we're trying to design our system to do.
I'm John Weeks, and this podcast is brought to you by Digital Frontier, a media company for curious minds committed to uncovering the future. As part of her exploration into innovative tech in the US, our journalist Isabel Castro spoke with Gabby Immelman, the founder of MindJoy. It's an innovative AI-first platform dedicated to revolutionizing education. The problem they're trying to fix: how do we make group lessons as effective as one-to-one tutoring? And their solution: a powerful combination of humans and AI systems.
A simple entry point might look like an educator taking a lesson they already know very well and pairing it with an AI tutor. And now that sounds like it's not very different maybe to just like using a chatbot or something. However, then you add a layer of a formative and a summative assessment to that that's also powered by an AI agent that can help with grading that assessment, giving feedback, instant feedback. And then we take all of that data. So we basically take the conversational data, you take the data from the assessments, and we then analyze that and present that back into what we call insights.
Alongside the powerful assessment capabilities of AI, like in all other sectors, it promises a boost in productivity. And that's a huge part of how MindJoy is designed to be used. Gabby said some schools today are utilising what's called the 2-hour learning system to help pupils learn faster, like Alpha School in Austin, Texas.
It's this idea that you can accelerate through content at twice the speed. Mackenzie Price, one of the Alpha founders, that's her methodology. She calls it 2-hour learning. And I think what's really, really interesting is this idea that you can actually get through the curriculum, our current national curriculums, and this is generally true in all countries. The traditional curriculum can actually be covered in a much shorter period, in 2 hours of dedicated, directed learning, but yet we spend so much time in school. So 2-hour learning is basically designed according to that insight, which is, well, if we set the precedent in the right way and students or scholars become more goal-orientated and engage in optimal learning time, so sitting down with a mastery-based learning system or an AI app to master core curricula, you can get through it in 2 hours. You take this now to MindJoy as a system where we enable any teacher to be able to facilitate that kind of learning. You could essentially do any lesson in this kind of way, which is a high engagement lesson. It's controlled to a specific unit of work over a specific time. And in that time, you are able to generate data. You build the loop of like looking at your data, how you did going through that unit of work, and then you do the next unit of work.
It's a dramatically different way of learning compared with the traditional schooling we see today. But Gabby says typical lessons now are nowhere near as effective.
If you compare that quite simply to a teacher standing in front of a classroom saying, okay, children, sit down, open your books, do this, do that, and it's all directed by the educator. So much what is actually happening is very lossy. Like a classroom is lossy. There's so much time lost in all these non-essential, activities or distractions or somebody talking to you about their day. And that's the maybe good, important for human things, but it's not great for academic learning.
These days, teachers are using AI tools like ChatGPT more and more to help them with things like grading and generating learning material. But there's one way it's used in schools that Gabby's not a fan of.
The AI monster in education is AI-generated worksheets. Like, cool, now we've got students accelerating their learning and teachers just doubling down on the number of worksheets they can produce, which is like, in my mind, the nightmare, the AI learning nightmare.
One country already using AI tools like Mindjoy to great effect is Gabby's homeland of South Africa. Some schools there are overwhelmed with high student numbers and a shortage of teachers, but they still largely operate in the traditional way. Gabby says it's those kind of schools that really benefit from Mindjoy.
So this blended classroom of like 3 facilitators to 100 student ratio is how Mindjoy is then being implemented. And that is really where our power is, because we can help one facilitator deal with the 100 students' queries at the same time, right? In a large group, 100 students just wouldn't be able to ask their questions. And quite simply, you have an AI system that's almost a guide by the side of the teacher companion while students are working and being able to answer the questions as the students are working through it. So what an implementation of Mindjoy looks like in this traditional school trying to do things differently is often it looks like a teacher teaching a normal class, but to a ratio of 100 students. You're seeing like a not quite 2-hour learning happening, but essentially like work periods where students have to get through their sort of playlists or their tasks or activities for the day, a little bit of lectures type learning, but predominantly students are then having to get through their work themselves. And then you have these rotating, floating facilitators who are not teachers. They're just there to pick up on students who are really stuck and struggling. And with Mindjoy, they're getting real-time data to see the student's not progressing anymore. The person is in real time looking at that and then can go into the physical classroom and say, hey, Johnny, what are you struggling with? Where can I help you? And so that's a really new orientation of like, how do we enable flexible learning? Or the other thing that you enable is, okay, there's this subgroup of students struggling with this context. I can actually leave the rest of the group to self-direct. I can pull out a small group of students who need to have additional contact time, and you work with them on the content that they need to. And it's really exciting because I think that's where you can have a lot of impact for young people who would just like not have access to high quality education otherwise.
The Mindjoy platform specifically focuses on STEM subjects: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And Gabby told us they're simply following the subjects more and more countries are moving towards.
If you look at where governments and agencies and different organizations are spending money is around STEM. Like a lot of investment is going into STEM. And then you just like look at the amazing feats of like SpaceX, and this is the way the world is trending, and there's just a requirement of certain skills, and those skills are more in demand. And I don't think that that's going away too soon. Like I think society's like desire to make progress is just too big.
Aside from the fairly tangible benefits of this kind of learning then, fundamentally, Gabby believes young people from school pupils up to university students will actually begin to want and ask for more from their education.
In a lot of places you have unemployed youths, which is just not good for society. That's a problem. You have unemployed youths not having anything to do, not having meaning, not having purpose, not being able to contribute. That is a huge problem. But also when they have invested in their educations, it means nothing. And so what I think that means is young people are going to demand better ROI on their investment into learning or education. In the North, like the global North, you see like on a university level, young people are not going to university anymore. The college degree does not mean employment. And so alternative skills capacity building is coming, there's a huge opportunity in sort of micro skills or capacity building or non-formal programs that actually help you get employment.
Gabby's main argument for this shift to AI-backed learning in schools and universities all comes down to one thing. School needs to be set up to cater for the young people of today.
I think young people, especially because there are internet natives and digital natives and AI natives, they just demand more. They want to be engaged, they want to be entertained, they want to be challenged, and they want things that matter. And I don't think we can blame them for wanting that. Like, if you are used to turning on your PlayStation and playing a game, and that game takes you into this whole other world, it's incredibly rich and stimulating. Like, why would you want to, do a couple of repetitive tasks, essentially, that you go, well, a calculator or an AI can do it, so what's the point? Why do I have to do it? And I think we should take this question seriously.
And this new, condensed, unique way of learning is spreading further afield than just Alpha School.
We have our students crushing academics. Like at our school, our students are going to rank top 1% nationwide. All of our students are going to learn at least twice as fast as traditional school students.
As part of her US trip, Isabel travelled to GT School in Georgetown, just north of Austin, the sister school of Alpha, to meet with the head, Braden Pomerantz.
So we are a K-8 private school that's going to be geared for gifted and talented students. All of our academics is going to be in 2 hours in the morning where students use online apps. We're going to do all of that in the classroom though, so they have me and our other staff members there to support them, help them through it. By doing their academics in just 2 hours, their entire afternoon is going to be dedicated to learning life skills.
On her tour of the school, Braden showed Isabel how and why their campus is set up differently.
It's not going to look like a traditional classroom in that we're not going to have a lot of desks, but you'll see our main classrooms here in a second. We do have tables, so our students kind of like having that balance of tables and soft furniture. And we actually have one room that's entirely soft furniture, and the kids have a way that they can unlock and earn access to that room. We do a lot of data tracking with our students, so because all of their learning is going to be personalized, they have certain goals that they have to meet every single day. So if a student meets their academic goals in all of their subjects, that's how they get the fun room with the soft furniture. But then we really empower our students to be self-driven. So we'll see some students, they just know if they unlock the room or not, if they go or they stay in the room. Some of them will go to the room, but be like, oh, if I'm on math, I want a table, I want my notebook, I'll be in the main room, and then I'll go, lay on the couch to do my reading.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. So it's really led by them.
It is, yes. And that's really a core premise of our model, both for academics and life skills, is really empowering the students, take ownership of that to really explore the things that they're interested in. Even just how we shape our community. We have a town hall process every week where the students get to propose changes to the school and they get to create the rules. So we don't love having a lot of top-down rules from the staff, but rather students taking that ownership, and then how do we help them achieve their goals within certain structure, of course, but really letting them kind of take ownership of the space.
Braden explains how they motivate the students and empower them to take ownership of their education.
We do a lot of work at all of our schools around just motivation. And it kind of gets at that level of school of you don't just love it because it's fun and you get to play and do these other things, you love learning as well. A lot of our students naturally love learning, which is being gifted and talented students. And I've always been very smart. And I think especially here, they like that they get challenged, they get their own content, they're able to move at their own pace. At the same time, we don't have teachers at our school, right? So we're never going to be lecturing in front of the room, or we're never going to lose interest because it's just me talking at you for 30 minutes. Instead, it's you are learning exactly what you need and you're able to just keep moving on. And I'm there to really support and motivate you. So, Krish, I have a question. Every time you complete a lesson, what do we do?
You give us the best high fives.
High fives every time. So I'm a big high fiver, and it's just little things like that.
Okay.
Of having those relationships with the students. I will always high five them, encourage each other, getting them excited about it. So the little kids and even older kids, little stickers. We have our own internal currency. So students are able to earn GT bucks when they complete their academic lessons. We have a certain way that they're able to earn them. We have a digital banking system where they save up their money and then they're able to buy things. So Krish, for example, is trying to save all of his money for the year so he can just cash out, get a really nice gift card. Some of our other students are trying to buy a Taylor Swift hoodie.
And it's that motivation, ownership over what and how they learn, and tools like 2-hour learning which help these GT school students get ahead. But Braden said it's the school's flexibility when it comes to grade levels, which also supports pupils to move faster through their learning.
We might have a student in 7th grade. So Jaden, for example, who's in a different room right now, he's working in 12th grade reading. So just because you're in 7th grade or Krish is in 6th grade doesn't mean you're going to be at 6th and 7th grade content. It means you're going to be at the content you're ready for. We know you're ready for new content when you are able to master the grade level at 90% or above. So in a lot of schools, it's if you're in fifth grade, then what they can say is like, the fourth grade material at about a 50% level. What we say is you got to be at the 90% level, so you're not going to have any gaps in knowledge. We're going to make sure you really master all of that content. But then we're also going to let you move on. And it's also really important for gifted and talented students, or maybe at other schools, they get a little bit bored if they are ready to move on. So what we see is that almost all of our students at this point are going to be at or above grade level, and they're going to learn twice as fast, which means they're going to get through at least 2 grade levels of content just this school year.
One of the key differences between GT School and traditional schools is their use of AI. The tools they use are designed to both help students learn, but also gather data on their learning, how they're doing, what they're struggling with, and how they can be supported.
I'm constantly reviewing data. So we have that dashboard where I'm reviewing, we have our ways of tracking it. That's how our entire motivational system is based. And also how we're able to have conversations with students. It's just hey, I noticed, we didn't quite reach our goals yesterday. What do you think might have caused that? And then again, really allowing them to have that input and buy-in rather than me being hey, shame on you for not hitting your minimums, or why didn't you work hard yesterday? But just really asking those open-ended questions and letting them let me know, but I'm only able to do that based on getting that data.
And Braden explains how they use LLMs like ChatGPT to tailor content to individuals and provide education that's effectively equivalent to one-on-one teaching.
I have a background in public speaking. I love working one-on-one with the students. But again, I can't work one-on-one with 7 students at once. So what we'll do is while the students are writing, we've created a prompt where they can send it to ChatGPT, get really detailed feedback. We also use an AI tool that allows them to record their performance and get metrics on their eye contact and their pacing and their enthusiasm so that they can use that as their starting point and then come to me and allow me to kind of give my feedback. So all to say that we have an academic team that does it, and then we also really leaning into that AI piece, both for academics and the other parts of our school day.
Braden said they don't have teachers at GT School, but guides instead, who coach pupils rather than explicitly teach them. And he says that's a huge advantage over traditional schools.
I think what a lot of people think is that our school is all tech and that students are online all day and that we don't have teachers means we don't have adult staff that are crucial. We do, it just looks different. The reason that our guides are able to focus on their students and the motivation and the currency and all these other things we've talked about is because I'm not giving a lecture right now on math and I'm not having to prepare lessons. I'm able to prepare what is going to excite the students, what's going to be on their check chart, how am I going to teach them public speaking tomorrow so that they can win a competition in a month. I'm able to use my time differently specifically because of the 2-hour learning, because their learning is individualized, because it's online. I know I can support them through that, but I don't have to be the one teaching them. I also know that not only do I not have to do it, but the technology is going to do it better. And it's because it's going to give them exactly what they need, right? If I'm talking to 30 kids, I might have the right content for Ben, but it's not going to be the right content for Sarah or Jessica and so forth, because you can just never tailor it to 30 different students. When it's online, that's the only way that unless you have one staff for one student, that's the only way you're going to get that tailored content that allows the student to learn it quicker and to move above grade level.
And much like Gabby, who said they're focused on creating a system that builds resilient people, Braden says what they're doing at GT School with new tech and AI sets young people up for life much better than the current education system.
I think it sets them up really well. I feel like growing up, and even just one of the most common things you hear about schools is we should prepare them for life and we should teach them life skills and we should teach them financial literacy and we should teach them how to think. And it's not just about the core academics, and our model fully believes in that and then makes it actionable. So we have our students crushing academics. At our school, our students are going to rank top 1% nationwide, but we're also teaching them the life skills. So because their learning is done in 2 hours a day, they're spending all afternoon on those life skills workshops. So one of the ones I mentioned is they're learning critical thinking by playing chess. I'm also leading a public speaking workshop where the kids are learning public speaking best practices. They're telling their own narratives or personal narratives about something that happened in their life. We have our young students are learning how to program. So our kindergartners, for example, are learning coding and programming. So really kind of combining the academics and the life skills so that we have really well-rounded students that are prepared for the world when they leave school.
It's clear that there's plenty of innovation around EdTech in the US, and there's another tool designed to cater for today's young people, a piece of software called CleoViz.
We definitely have a visual generation. And if we can leverage that to help them learn, why wouldn't we do that?
Here they have the chance of visually absorb that knowledge in a different way than traditional learning methods.
On her US trip, Isabel also visited the University of Texas at Austin to meet with Professor Erica Basumek, the founder of CleoVis, and PhD student Marcus Golding, who's been helping to develop it. It's a visual learning platform designed to help students better link concepts, events, and information together, then present their work effectively. Erica told us when she first realized there was a need for it.
A number of years ago, I noticed students kind of coming into the classroom with some skill deficits. And they were having a harder time than previous generations organizing information, using evidence, thinking with evidence, and collaborating with each other and presenting that information. And I had an idea that I thought could help students both organize their information and think critically about it and analytically about it, because it seemed like such a simple idea, to be honest, that I couldn't believe that nobody had actually made this thing. So what I was imagining was a timeline, but when students made connections, where students could connect events, and when they would connect events, they would explain the relationship between the events. So correlation, causation, being able to differentiate those things, etc. And when it didn't exist, I decided to try to build it. And so we built a little early prototype for use in my class. So we tried it out in the class, and the students really loved it. And it was really clunky and, not sophisticated at all. And my colleagues were like, that's so cool. I want to use it in my class. And then I thought, wow, maybe this is like actually a technology that we can use across campus. And now we've since supported almost 32,000 students on the platform. And the great thing about CleoVis is once the students get their timelines all built out, they can download it as a Word doc, and they go in and get rid of the metadata. Then they have an organized first draft of a paper or an essay or a study guide, or they can embed the timelines in websites that they can show a potential employer so they can demonstrate real skills.
And Marcus says it's a powerful option for people who learn or think differently.
It's also great for them to essentially being able to, in their brains, organize that data, which is drastically different from just reading text. Here they have the chance of creating their own events, think about them, and then see how they are related, and then visually absorb that knowledge in a different way than traditional learning methods. And another great thing I would say about CleoVis is that it essentially applies to any kind of discipline that has some sort of chronology in it. So we have had cases of people using it for biochemistry, or people using it for business classes.
The app revolves around digital timelines, something Erica believed would help visual learners specifically. She told Isabel she also noticed a fundamental flaw in how students are taught today, which is what prompted her to design CleoVis in the first place.
I was getting a lot of students who were like, just tell me what I need to memorize and I'll tell it back to you. And that's not learning, right? Like that's memorization. And there's a really big difference between memorizing a set of facts that you forget as soon as you take the test and actually understanding how society works at any given moment, or understanding how, the business world works at any given moment. Like they didn't know how to organize their thoughts. They didn't know how to communicate information effectively back to me. So I know that a lot of that has to do with pressure that is put on K through 12 teachers to just have students master a certain set of facts before they can pass them to the next level in the United States. And I know it's done differently in the United Kingdom a little bit, and in Australia to a certain extent as well. But here, I think we've gotten away from the sort of the more narrative parts of history. And I think that can be what's most engaging, right, to students. So it also, along the way, once you get students engaged and actually going like, oh, wow, wait, these two things were connected, or how did these people even know each other, right? Like they learn that, John Roebling, who designed the Brooklyn Bridge, was a student of Frederick Hegel's, right? And then suddenly the bridge is not just a bridge, but the bridge becomes a symbol of, Hegelian philosophy. And the students who are economics majors or business majors who study Hegel, or history majors of philosophy, like suddenly they go like, wait, what? We see a manifestation of these ideas in the built environment, like then the world begins to kind of open up in a way.
But the benefits aren't just about helping visual learners. Erica says the timeline capability that ClioVis facilitates dramatically speeds up students' learning.
ClioVis has the same impact in helping students master the skills as they would if they spent an entire term working on one research paper. And these are just short assignments, right, that the students do periodically over the course of the semester. I mean, it's super powerful. And so you can see like we're having the same impact doing a shorter assignments that the students can complete in a week, that's leveling up the same skill sets and teaching them the same core competencies as if they spent the entire semester working on a research paper.
They do have a plan to integrate AI into the ClioVis app eventually, but Marcus told us they're also looking at ways of introducing audio learning, specifically for teaching history, using an LLM tool from Google.
We have been experimenting a little bit with tools like Google Notebook LM. It has been a really nice experience to, extract the data from these timelines and feed them to this system. And then you have essentially a podcast. That's another way in which people can consume these bits of history in a very easy way. And the cool thing is that, these technologies allows us to create a podcast from nowhere. And obviously, we take care of, checking the information or the way this AI is telling a story. And then if we see some inconsistencies, we can, address them. But in general, this is another way in which, you can reach a wider audience, which I think is the whole purpose.
In the same way that Gabby talked about designing education for a generation of people exposed to super engaging content like modern games, and how Braden described the benefits of condensed learning using new technology, Erica told Isabel, ultimately, ClioVis is a tool specifically designed for today's generation of learners.
Okay, so we have a generation of digital natives, right? Where people spend a lot of time on their phones consuming images, consuming, Instagram posts and Snapchat. And, so they're used to seeing things. And so there's a big debate about whether visual learning is actually a thing or not, right? Is there such a thing as visual learning? But we definitely have a visual generation. And if we can leverage that to help them learn, why wouldn't we do that, right? Why wouldn't we go at least partially in on that and use that as a tool that we as educators can use to help them master the skills we want them to have when they leave our classes?
It's clear that Gabby, Braden, Erica, and Marcus are all trying to implement today what they think should be standard practice in the future. But can we afford to wait much longer to make changes? With AI, social media, and gaming changing how people engage with content, will books and traditional classrooms soon become redundant? And is there an opportunity for a government, business, or organisation to take advantage of the situation, make changes, and create a generation ready for the future? This was episode 4 of Upgrading Humanity, a 4-part series exploring the subcultures and innovators that are setting the path for a better future. If you haven't already, you can listen to our 3 other episodes focused on network states, biohacking, and AGI by searching for Upgrading Humanity wherever you get your podcasts. For regular news from the world of EdTech, AI, biohacking, and more, sign up to the Digital State Dispatch newsletter by tapping the link in the episode description.